Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Landscaping to the Point, where we're not your average landscaping green industry podcast. We are straight to the point, and I am joined today with Don from State of Lawn. Josh should be on here in a little bit from Boston. JC is out driving like crazy, so hopefully he is listening and watching us as he's driving. Hopefully not watching because that's probably against the law, but hopefully he's listening to us. So, how you doing today, Don? It's been
I'm
a
good.
about a week since I seen you last. So
Yeah, yeah, I'm
yeah,
good. It's been a good week getting back into things back at home, and yeah, it's been good. Thanks for having me.
thank you. So what do you got going on right now? Like, do you like? I know everywhere's different. Us, we still got a couple of weeks left of mowing. We're trying to get in the last little bit of landscaping before the end of the year. Um, what do you got going on right now in your area? I know you're like you said you were above Montana. So what's that kind of like up that way?
Yeah, so I'm in Calgary, so just north of Montana, basically. But we're about 45 minutes from the Rocky Mountains, so our winter comes pretty quick. Slash, our fall is super short. So, like you said, we were just in Chicago kind of last week. I did kind of weekly cuts the week before, and then I've kind of gone to bi-weekly now. And unless it really warms up in the next few days, I don't think we'll be cutting much at all. I
Right.
was tried to do two leaf cleanups yesterday. Only got to one because it was 30. I think I sent that picture in the chat there. It was like 37 degrees Fahrenheit when I got up
Wow.
in the morning. So, and it was raining. So I know they got snow kind of an hour west of us yesterday. So yeah,
Nice.
it's our season is coming to a quick end for that kind of stuff. So.
Yeah. So you up there get like what? Probably like 4 months of mowing, pretty much 5 months.
Yeah, it really depends on the spring. Um, Kind of like May to September, depending on the year. April,
Okay.
if we can do spring cleanups in April, it's a good year. Like a lot of the time, we kind of have to wait for things to dry up because we get some snows in March kind of thing. So, um, this year was pretty good. Like it was pretty much go from beginning of May, so that was good.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So you get more snow than anything. So I mean, you probably see what's your biggest snowfall you've ever been through up there in Calgary?
Uh, I don't know if we, I don't even know what it would be. Um, I've definitely seen like a foot in a day kind of thing, and the big thing here is that when it gets really cold. If you get those spring or kind of fall snows, then it's not too bad to manage just because it's not heavy.
Right.
Um, but like it'll get to like minus 30, minus 40 Celsius here, which is I think minus 40 and minus 40 Fahrenheit is the same. So um, if it gets to even like below 0 Fahrenheit, when it snows, it's powder, so it's super light, um, easy to push through. But yeah, we get a fair bit of snow up here, and it's more the cold that bothers me. It's when you get into past a week of minus 40 temperatures, like you're just housebound, right? Like
Right.
usually come February, um, I'm kind of in that depressed state where it's like, are we done yet? Like, but
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, I get that. I'm probably the same way. I mean, we don't have as much snow as you guys anymore. I mean, in the last couple of years, I think we've had maybe like 2 months of little bit of snow. Nothing major the last couple of years. Which kind of I miss because I do miss some of the bigger snowfalls and being able to be out and make a lot more money doing snow. But I mean, just the ability of that like you said, just getting depressed of being saying, oh, I've been here. Like you go out, you do your snow removal, and you come back and you're like, there's nothing to do. There's nothing to do outside,
yeah.
and you're like, I need that time to be outside and get the sun and relax. So
I know during COVID, I was still doing quite a bit of snow at that time, and it was honestly kind of a blessing because you were kind of everyone was stuck at home.
right,
But
right.
I don't know. I don't think I would have made it through it. Like if it wasn't for just like I had a reason and an ability to get outside to go clean people's sidewalks and driveways and stuff like that. But
I think COVID changed a lot of things. I mean, it was good for us as landscapers. I think, like in our area, I don't know about you guys up there, but I know in our area in Ohio, they kind of made it like we were part of the emergency crew. Like they wanted landscapers to be out there, they wanted roofers to be out there, they wanted anybody that did kind of household work to be out there. So that way it pretty much kept the economy going.
Yeah.
Because there's still stuff that needed to be done. And I mean, that was a good part for us. I mean, because it was weird because we'd go to do jobs and it was like nobody would be there. Like we did a lot of our commercial jobs and you're like, nobody's here. This is a perfect time to get here and do this job. It still needs to be maintained. It still needs everything. And you're like, but nobody's going to see it. Like how long before they're going to come and see this? Are we going to be closed down for years and nobody get to see it? And you're like, okay, well, at least I did my job here. Yeah, it was a big change, I think.
One big thing on that happened up here is that people obviously weren't traveling, they weren't spending all that kind of money, and they poured a ton of money into their landscapes because they're stuck in their backyards. I don't do landscaping per se. I'm more of a lawn care kind of guy, but I know some of the greenhouses that I deal with, one of them has their own landscape crew, and they had like by far the best years of their business during COVID because people were just throwing money around for their backyards and
Oh yeah, I seen it. I seen a big difference. I mean, there was a lot. I know we did a lot of landscaping that year, and like you said, it was just people were at home and they wanted to be there. They wanted to enjoy the time that they were there. I mean, yeah, they weren't allowed to get out. I mean, in our area, I don't think there was a lot of people that could go do anything till it was like usually around June. I think it was June or July in our area, to where you could actually go to the stores and stuff. I mean, they were still kind of people would go to the store because you still had to get your groceries.
yeah.
It would be limited. You wouldn't see as many people as you normally did. So it was a big change. I mean, it was definitely I seen a lot more people like, oh yeah, let's do this, let's do that, and you're like, okay, we'll go ahead and do it, no problem. So it was a big difference for us. So yeah, it helped out.
It was
Yeah.
probably nice during that time though too, that you could do commercial projects and not have to talk to all your clients all the time.
Right. It was. I mean, it was a lot of I mean, some of our commercial contracts we have to do certain times. So it was like to be able to go there
Uh,
and one of ours is a big business complex, and there's barely anywhere to park if you don't get there at a certain time. And it was like you had the whole parking lot. Literally, you
yeah.
just parked wherever you wanted. And it was like, okay, well, go ahead, take our time, whatever. We're not in a rush. It was a big difference, definitely was, and I enjoyed
Yeah.
it at that point. Even when it first started going back, because even when we started to go back, there wasn't that many people that wanted to go into work, so it wasn't like, oh, okay, it's crowded. And now it's back to that point where like, oh, we're crowded again, so let's rearrange everything. So
Yeah, I know up here. So I know but maybe a lot of other people don't. I do the landscape lawn care kind of part time. Um, and I noticed especially starting this September, like taking the train and stuff like that. Like I live in a fairly big city, like 1.3 million people kind of thing. So I take the train usually downtown to work. And I found just starting in September, it actually feels like we're finally back to pre-COVID numbers. Like everyone's going back to work, going back to the office. The universities are back in full time, permanent, all that kind of thing. So it's taken a few years, like you said, that even past it, where they still had those work from home mandates and were still able to at least be a little flexible, I'm sure still, but I know it's finally kind of full go now.
yeah, oh yeah, it's a big difference. I really do say that it's a big difference to actually see everything where it's at, and see how it's evolving. I mean, everything's kind of evolved. I mean, there's still a lot of people I know in our area. Good morning, Paul. Paul Camara's on there. He's
Oh, hey,
watching
Paul.
us. Thank you for watching us, Paul. It's it's amazing that the numbers are starting to go up, like you said, and get back to before. But there's still a lot of people I know that are still working at home, and it's changed a lot of the businesses. And it's like I know a lot of the businesses is cut down to where they're just only having in so many people come in a couple days, and still be able to work. And that's good. It keeps business running. But it's like for us as landscapers, it's like how long before that business shuts down? And will somebody move into that area? Will they take that building over? And will it continue to have that same type of landscaping? It's always that part where you're like, okay, I hope we still have this work, next year,
Yeah.
because who knows if they're going to be here, so it's a
No,
big
it's
difference.
definitely changed the commercial real estate and the vacancy rates in Calgary at least are still we went through a long period of time where they were just building a new office tower and every corner possible. They'd tear down some heritage building and put up an office tower, which is a great way of building things. But um, anyways, at one point we were at like 25% vacancy rate. I think now it's down to about
Ah,
20%. But how are you, buddy?
What's up,
Morning,
dude?
Josh.
Morning.
So
Just
we were
giving
just
life
talking about
lessons.
pre-COVID stuff, and good morning, Jar sisters. We're joined by Paul and Jar sisters. So we were just talking about how things have changed and how, you know, when pre-COVID came out, a lot of people wanted to put money in their landscaping, which was a good thing for us. I don't know about you, how it was for you down where you're at, Josh, and how long before you kind of seen differences in, businesses coming back to work and stuff.
Post-COVID?
Yeah, yeah.
It's funny.
When COVID hit, I mean, it changed the whole game. I mean, it like for commercial, it put me to where I could park wherever I could take my time with the job because nobody was there.
Yeah.
And like I was telling him in our area, we were considered like the emergency personnel, us and roofers and plumbers and heating guys. They wanted us out there because they wanted to make sure that things kept going and not be like, oh well, we had to close everything down, so nobody's doing anything. But it was a big difference at that point. And so how do you?
I mean, we flourished through COVID. I think most of the people in this, and most of the people in the trades flourished, and
Right.
during COVID, we had our best years in 2020, 2021, and honestly, that April.
It's his connection.
That
Just
April
slow
when
motion.
Nash shut everything down, my
Motion.
heart was thumping because I'm gonna go out of bed. Conversation. Can you? Are you guys hearing me?
Right.
My internet's dropped.
On and off. I think you're like in that tunnel again.
It's just. I think it's.
Is your house going through that tunnel?
Yeah. How about now? Am I steady now?
Yeah.
All right. So whatever. Basically, 2020, 2021 were my best years. Probably most people in the trades, it was their best year. We kind of had a feeling throughout last year that things were going to start getting back to pre-COVID time. Pre-COVID time, meaning you had to learn how to sell again, because during COVID, you really didn't have to make that much of an effort. And if anybody says that's not the truth, you're fucking bullshitting. Because I even myself, I didn't have to try that hard. I mean, I was closing residential jobs at 50, 60K with people not batting an eye, writing a deposit right then and there. Now I'm back to the point where you're giving a residential estimate, hey, we're going to get, a few more estimates and see. That wasn't the case back then because there wasn't enough supply for the demand, right? So there weren't enough contractors to fill the void. That's why you had a lot of guys, and I feel like a lot of guys that made that significant from maintenance to hardscape to fill that void are now feeling that hit, because what's going to happen is while you were still learning, you're giving up those routes that was your guaranteed income, and a lot of guys jumped into that and took them. The other thing that I'm going to see an issue with, and I know I'm kind of going off the left field here, was I had a lot of associates in the industry. They were starting to pay guys $25, $30, $35 an hour to cut lawns. Of course, in this industry, people don't hold to their guns. They don't hold their prices. They tend to bow down when people are going to pull away and not pull the trigger with them. Now, I think what we're seeing is we're going back to pre-COVID times. It's not as easy to get these gigs. Things are going back to, unrestricted vacations, unrestricted travel almost everywhere. So people are going back to real life, not, restricted travel, this and that.
Right.
So now you have these guys that are pushing mowers for $30, $35 an hour, and it is a thing. And you're back to those prices pre-COVID, where you're not getting it. Where people are actually shopping now. And what's going to happen? It's going to dictate back to that. Hey, these prices haven't changed since 1992. So hold to your guns. Hold to your goddamn guns.
Yeah, but I think if you got a price list and you know exactly what you should be making, you need to stick to it. I mean, yeah. We've changed pricing every year. We change pricing, and we're trying to refine it every year. And I think that's one thing that you do need to do in business is to know your numbers. And if you don't know your numbers on how everything's going to run, but you want to go get the customers, you still got to give them the right price. If you're trying to give them a price from like 1992, it's not going to work. I mean, you're going to get to work, but you're not going to be able to survive. And I see a lot of companies now, especially one in our area that actually he had to literally reduce down because he couldn't keep paying his employees. So he had to reduce down enough just to pay for his expenses and him. And it's heartening to see that, where in our area, I know there's a big high demand for mowing, landscaping, hardscaping, all that in our area. And a lot of people are reducing down only, because they're, like you said, they're going back pricing wise to try to keep the customer, because there's so many companies out there, but there's a high demand for it.
Which is insane, because
And
you've never seen the price of milk and eggs go down in the past 20 years.
No.
It's never gone down, and you're gonna buy them no matter what. Remember, what you offer is not a needed service. It's a luxury. You don't need someone to come cut your lawn. You don't need a paper walkway. You pay for it because you don't want to do it. You like the way someone else does it. So why would you go back in your price for a luxury service?
Right. Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, a lot, that was one of my main, one of the guys I started working with a long time ago when I got married. He said, he goes, yeah, our services that we provide to people are a luxury. And if they don't want it, we just move on to the next person. Somebody's going to want it. And you got to find that right person that wants that service for you.
Hold your prices.
Yep. Continue. So
COVID was a blessing to the industry, where it pushed out the guys that couldn't handle it. It made the guys that were trying to get over that hump, and it allowed them to slightly get over that hump, and it allowed guys to invest in their company. I think it built confidence in a lot of owners, but a lot of people who had started up in like 2018, 2019 are thinking that 3-year mark for them, that 3-4 year mark for them was the tell-all that they were doing great in sales. Now you have to get back where you actually have to have systems and processes in place to make these sales and get jobs done.
Correct.
Even, I mean, I'll tell you right now, on the hardscape market for me, and this is where this discussion started last night, was that we've slowed down significantly on the residential side. Granted, I haven't done a ton of marketing because I haven't done it. I didn't need to.
Right.
Honestly, it wasn't my skill bringing all this work. There was a demand, and I closed the jobs, and I went up on my prices, and I'm still up on my prices, and that's part of my problem. Why I think I'm a little slower is I wasn't closing as many jobs because I won't bend on my price. I'm not going to bend on it. Like I have other work. Yes, it would have been great to have been as busy as the past years, but we make it up in other places. But I think that it has slowed down. I don't think that it's an economy crash yet. I just think things are starting to level out, and people are being a little smarter with their money.
Yeah. Do you see that same thing down in your area?
Oh, for sure. Inflation is hitting us pretty hard up here. Like, talk about milk prices, a jug of milk is $8 now or something like that. Like, it's ridiculous.
Well, we got to quit importing it to you. You got to get cows up there.
We have cows up here. Not that far north. It's not like I'm in Alaska or something. No, it's everything I think Josh said is dead on, like COVID and the pricing, and I think the inflationary too is impacting a lot of guys too, where, like you said, the labor costs and stuff like that. Like, I was trying to find somebody kind of near the end of COVID, and I'm a solo guy. I had another guy before with me, and I went back to solo because I'm not paying somebody, like, our minimum wage here is $15 an hour. I'm not paying someone $25 an hour to push a mower. Like, I'm sorry, you're not worth that. Like, I'd rather just cut back, go solo. I actually make more money now than I did when I had another guy with me, just because I'm putting more money in my pocket at the end of the day. I'm not babysitting. There's a lot of that stress and anxiety that you don't have to worry about. You don't have to look for more work all the time. Like, I kind of got to pick and choose. I took it kind of as an opportunity when I kind of slowed down a bit that way. I just narrowed down my area too, right? So now I'm probably I know I'm doing more lawns every day because you have that smaller area. Like, I'm hitting 15 lawns in, 5 hours or something like that. Like, you can knock them off quick when they're that close. You guys know that. Like, you're
right.
But yeah, it's impacted everyone differently, I think. But the inflation thing is interesting, and gas prices, obviously, a huge part of that. But for my main job, I work in the oil and gas industry, so I don't mind gas prices being a little high because it helps my stock price. So there's that too.
Now, do you guys? I know, like in our area, employees are hard to come by. There's a lot of people that don't want to work. They get into wherever they're at, and they work like a month or two, and then they're like, "Okay, I'm out of here. I don't want to work." Do you guys see in that in your area too, and even your industry and other areas and different industries?
Maybe I'll go quick because I know Josh has a lot more experience with employees and stuff like that than I do. But
He's only got two. Don't let him shake you.
200.
Two employees, Jose and Javier.
That's wow. Wow.
Too early to go there.
There's just two employees. That's
think,
all.
I think for me personally, it was when you're such a small company like I am, trying to find someone that cares as much as you do about it is pretty much impossible. You're never going to find someone that cares as much as you do, and I struggled with that. Was when I'm trying to talk to people and or try to talk to employees and trying to get them on the same page. It's just so difficult. Like I said, and wages up here are just huge. Like you can go work on a rig and make, 40, 45 bucks an hour easily. Why would a guy stay here and cut grass for 25 or $20 an hour, right? Like it just doesn't make sense. When the economy is good up here, it's really good. But I just find it's hard, especially as a small company, I found when I don't have processes in place like Josh probably does. So anyways, go ahead, bud.
He said it like Canadians with the process, and it's funny. I always say they don't pronounce it right; they pronounce it funny, and then they're right. There's a few other words too where I'm like process. Anyway, Don, I like to go off in the left field a lot. I'm sure you know.
I know.
I want to say that market for employees is coming back. It's not the cream of the crop. That's for sure. What you're getting now is kind of what I just mentioned, where companies were so desperate they were paying higher wages. Now what they're trying to do is kind of slash quit. At least up here means you cut their hours and you get to the point where you're like you semi-fire them, but you allow them to quit so they can't collect on you. I think now what you're getting is you're getting a lot of people that are getting the layoffs that really weren't, and I hate to say it like this, but they weren't worth that money. It wasn't skilled labor. $25, $30, $35 an hour is more than fair wage for someone that's skilled labor. That's more than just picking up a shovel or a rake. It's people that can do things on their own and don't need to be told, don't need instruction 5 or 6 times, and actually have integrity in their work. That's not the case right now. I feel a lot of those guys that are unskilled labor are starting to come out in the market, and not so much us because we haven't needed the extra help this year. But I've talked to other guys that have gone through 5 or 6 guys already. So again, going back to those pre-COVID times where you're getting the guys that just can't hold the job because they show up for 2 days, like you said, and then they disappear. They can't do it. I had a conversation yesterday afternoon with a kid that's worked for me several times, and I like the kid, and that's why I keep taking them back. But we explained the direction we're going, and it was more or less like, if you can't come on board and commit, then that's it. This is the last straw. We're done. Even the friendship is gone at this point. Right. I just feel the trades that were already kind of a dying industry, like plumbers were having a hard time, electricians, never mind landscape, because again, where landscape stands, it's kind of at the bottom of those trades. It's not always taken seriously. It's you got electricians, plumbers, masons, you name it. HVAC guys, and then landscapers. So a lot of those guys will tend to gravitate towards that. Again, this is where holding your prices and not letting a specific market that's aged out dictate what you charge. Because again, a lot of those guys, that's why they're laying these dudes off, is they went up to $30, $35 an hour, but they didn't knock that profit up. They didn't knock that markup up. So if they were charging $80 an employee, at $20 an hour, and then they started hiring guys at $30, $35, your margins are shrinking. And now you're getting to the point where things may have slowed down or pricing's more competitive. So it's all hand in hand. I mean, if we held to our guns, held our prices, you'd be able to pay a little bit more to, combat inflation, just like Don's saying, because it's true. We made the example with milk and eggs. It's $8 a gallon for milk. I remember when they were $1.25 down here, right. And the price has never gone back. Prices should continue to go up. That's inflation.
It's because you're old, Josh.
Yeah, almost. Yeah, I guess so. I'm getting there.
I think you're older than all of us here, Josh.
Yeah, than you. Yeah, we did the 90s nostalgia thing, and you showed your age on that.
Well, Paul Camara's got a good question, and I wanted to throw it out there. His question is, do you see the younger generation bypassing working for an established company for starting their own?
Yes.
So, yeah, I
I think
do. I really do. Yeah.
I think that was I wouldn't say my biggest fear, but if you find a good employee, like that's always in the back of your mind. Because why wouldn't they? Especially in my business when it's like I'm strictly lawn care. Like I'll do
Right.
the odd little landscape job for my clients and stuff like that. Obviously, I'm not turning down business from my clients, but all you need is a mower, a trimmer, and a little blower, right? Like I don't the startup cost for a business of mine is, you could get in easily for under $1,000 if you have a truck kind of thing, right? So that's like why would someone work for me when they can go start their own business? And other than, yeah, you have to establish your clientele and stuff like that, but you got to start somewhere. But
Yeah. I mean, I have seen it in our area. I actually used to hire a lot of younger kids, and I had actually two that left and started their own business. One did not make it. The other one left, tried to steal a couple of my customers, was actually working for me and starting his business, cutting customers of his own with our own equipment, which that literally stopped real quick. So, um, but yeah, I see a lot of younger kids wanting to do it themselves because, like you said, Don, it's easier to go get a mower. It's easier to go get a weed whip. It's easy to get that stuff and get into the lawn care business and get going. But it's harder to find the people anymore, and you got to look for that right person that has the drive, that wants to work for you, but they don't want to put all that time and effort into running a business, doing the taxes, doing the advertisement, doing all that other stuff to get to that point where they're running their own stuff. And it takes time to find the right employee. And having to find that person with the passion that actually has it and wants to be there and wants to continue to work for you on a daily basis, it's just amazing once you can find that person. But it takes a little bit of time. I would think Josh would have adhered to that. So
Yeah. When I look at Paul's question, I say absolutely yeah. Like you're gonna typically rule of thumb from what I've heard is if you got a guy that's that good, he's gonna figure out money being made and want to do it on its own. But I have this conversation with owners and especially with employees. This union job that I've been on, I've actually I went around and talked to these guys, like what they're like about the union versus other companies. I talked to my guys. I know how I felt as an employee, and it comes down as a boss, as a business owner, what are you offering? Like, what do you have to offer? I know that sounds crazy because what does an employee have to offer? But if a grade A employee comes in, what are you offering? Competitive wage. Health insurance is expensive. Especially in Massachusetts. I mean, we have a different health connector, but it's still expensive. If you got a family, groceries are expensive. I think you have to factor in a couple things with this. Is what are you offering as an employee as far as benefits? Are you offering paid time off, vacation, sick days? You should offer education. Yeah. So one thing that I've actually looked into, and this is a little different. I don't know if I'm hitting it on the head what you're saying, Paul. You educate them in the trade, but at the same time, I was going to do a spiff back. Like McDonald's gives these kids $2,500 a year to go towards a college education. Why not, if you can finish a year, you offer these kids if they're in college, hey, here's $2,500, $3,000. It's a write-off. You get an employee for the year. You get to train them, educate them, offer education. On the other end, are you training the guys right? Do they know what they're doing? Or are you constantly badgering them that they're not doing it right and not showing them? But I think there's a few things. It's quality of life. You can't expect guys to work 50, 60 hours a week all summer and not enjoy their families. I did that for years before I started working for myself, and I was miserable, absolutely miserable. The one thing I preach now, if guys have something going on, like if your kid has a recital, dude, fucking leave early, take the day off. Like that, you're not going to get that again in your life. I missed a lot of shit with my oldest daughter, and that's one of my biggest regrets. Is for some reason I wasn't even working for myself at the time. I was working for somebody else, but I was so passionate about wanting to be a business owner and learning the lines that I didn't. I let the work consume me. You can make money, you can make it up, you can cut an extra 3-4 lines to make up that day or whatever. Right. But you're not going to get that time back. And you have to remember, these guys are human. They're people too. So when things are going on, understand that they need to get things done. Guys go through shit. Like, guys can go through divorces. They can go through, a kid being ill and not spit it out. You always have to remember, people have shit going on too. It's on the other side. It's not just about your business and what you're doing. It's how you're approaching people and how, like, I talk to any one of my guys. If one of my guys comes in, or even a guy that's just helping me out, another business owner, and they seem down, dude, what's going on? Like, sometimes just spit it off your chest. So quality of life and being able to be open with you guys, what you're offering as a company. If you're just offering high pay, that's great. But what if someone's offering maybe $4 or $5 an hour, but they're offering, 401k, they're offering some sort of health insurance or health payback. You don't have to offer health insurance, but maybe you could say, hey, a plan for a single guy is $300 a month. I'll spiff you the extra $300 bucks a month in your pay, or I'll just write you out a bonus check for it. There's different things you can do to offer. And I think that's where you're coming back, is you want to make it like kind of a career. Now, I get if you're like Don and you're solo, you're probably going to run through guys. You might have a guy for a year, then he goes off and does something. I think when you're at that point, you need to figure out what your business model is for employees. Now, if you're in the solopreneur business, yeah, maybe you actually do that where you go back to the college payback, the reimbursement. You're not going to get $2,500. You might if you're solo and you're making that money, but even $500. But you constantly switch out. You can get into some of these community colleges, state schools. You can get in with these counselors, these guidance counselors, and set up a program where they send you people that are looking for jobs, kids that want to make extra money, and you run through with that. But you got to figure out, do you want a guy that's with you all the time? Because typically what you're going to get as a solo guy. Unless it's a buddy, a brother, a business partner, what you get, and you're probably getting the guy that's getting high in the bushes. Let's not beat around the bush, or he's going to call you that his cat got ran over, or his girlfriend disappeared or something, So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I've always treated my employees like family. When they have a problem, there's a family member, sick, I'll be like, hey, you need the time off. Do you need to go take care of this? Same thing like you, Josh. It's you got to treat the people with respect. Give them what they need. Make sure they're getting paid on time. Make sure that if you're giving them raises, exactly when they're going to get raises. Let them know right away. Like, hey, I'm gonna raise you up after this point. Go out there and do what you need to do. Do whatever it needs to do to kind of give them raises on achievements. Give them an extra bonus here and there, and say, hey, you did a good job today, this week. Let's, we rocked it out. Here you go. I don't care about this. Here's the extra, $100 or so that way you can get going.
It's an investment.
I've had to where, recently the guy that works with me, he's been working with me for 4 years now. And, it's like, I know exactly when his dad's birthday is. I know when all his kids' birthdays are. And it's like, hey, do you need the time off for this? Or, hey, don't forget to remind you to tell your dad happy birthday from me. Don't, tell your kids happy birthday from me. It goes a long way because it's like, it puts it as your family. You're part of their family. If you know who they are and know how all their family is, it comes out to being the best thing that you're going to have and be able to keep that employee. And, like Nick says, do some off-season classes. I know there's a lot of places that do off-season classes, like Rainbird does.
So
SiteOne does.
Just to touch that too. So that's one thing I do. I'll pay for a hydraulics license. I'll pay for the online courses. They're cheap, couple $100. You get like a 45-day subscription to them. CDL, I'm still trying to figure that out because that's expensive. I don't have a lot of guys that are interested in that, but I would like to get a CDL guy. But I would probably do something where maybe split the cost of it, But yeah, the class is saying that we do like Techo Cambridge, and then if there's anything like through ICPI or anything like that, like I'll pay for that shit, no problem.
Right.
And people go, well, what if a guy learns? What if a guy takes it and then leaves? What are you gonna do? Never offer it? Like it's a gamble,
you have to offer it. I mean, you have to, I think it's one of those things. Even taking them to to the expo or something, or an expo by you, it's worth doing that because they see what kind of equipment's out there. Because not every piece of equipment's the same thing. No. Like you could have a KC at your area, Josh, and I could have a Bobcat. I might like a Bobcat, but hey, let's go to a demo area at an expo and we'll demo both of them and see who likes what. I'm always taking my guys and saying, tell me what you think about this piece of equipment. What kind of equipment do we need to upgrade? Is everything good? Is there something that needs to be changed so we can continue the business down the road as a better employees and better, culture all around. So
And if you're worried, I mean, you can also go to the method of, once you've completed a year of service or a season of service, then those things kind of take effect. Where like maybe your accrued vacation days, you accrued like after a year, you can qualify for taking pesticide classes or whatever. I mean, you're investing this stuff into your company. If you're doing it right and you're picking the right people, the right candidates when you're hiring them, and you're going to allow them to take these classes, even if they leave you in a year or two, like that cost should already be factored into what you're doing for that year. It should already be in your budget. So essentially, it's not costing you anything to offer these things for people coming into your company. Plus, that word gets around where, hey, I can go over to Acme and this dude might pay for my pesticide license. And like, hey, it's just kind of like, it might be a rotating door out, for your business with company, especially if you're smaller. But I mean, if you know your numbers and you incorporate that into your budget every year, you're not paying for it. And last thing on this, pay the fucking holidays. Just pay the fucking major holidays. I don't know how many guys won't pay the holidays. Shit like, dude, you got something with your kid? Go take care of it. Your wife is sick? Hey, take care of the kids. Like, you got to do that. Like, anxiety, stress, like the whole thing. You don't want that guy comes in miserable because he was fighting with his wife because she was sick and blah, blah, blah. Again, not your problem, but consider it. It is your problem indirectly. Right. Pay the holidays. Again, it's a day, especially if you have a guy or two. What's it costing you? $400? Honestly, right. Just pay the day. It goes a long way. The PTO, the days off, like, here and there. If someone's abusing it, yeah, you do. Like, use fucking common sense. If someone's abusing it, taking advantage of you, that's it. Cut the cord. But if you got good quality guys and you want to take care of them, remember quality of life, PTO, paid classes, offer something. Fucking offer something to bring people in the door.
Yeah, I agree. Paul asks, he says his employees work 40 hours. Each of them have a side hustle after work Saturdays. Do you guys think that, do you do that, Josh? Do you allow your guys to do side hustles if they need to make extra money? And I'm pretty sure Don would, if he hired somebody, I'm pretty sure he would allow somebody to do something on the side.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's not my business. What you do in your own time is right. You. Would right. I be mad if I found out? I mean, if you're poaching through my name, using my name, then right. Obviously I have a problem with it. But no, if you're making a difference, if I tell you, most of the guys that work for me don't bother with side hustles. Like this.
I can see your guys after they're done. They're like, I'm going home.
That's what I mean. It's like a lot of guys don't want to do this. But yeah, I mean, dude, I worked as a mechanic for years through the beginning of my adult life. And I always did side hustles. I would always do brake jobs or timing belts or something on the side. I had bosses that were nice enough to let me use the facilities to do that stuff to make the difference. Because like Paul said, I mean, it saves money on the OT for you. And then these guys kind of get that entrepreneurial spirit, like he said. And, but I have my main guys that work for me that see the back end shit. Like, I don't talk about all that stuff. But, dude, anxiety and stress of a business owner, especially when shit's not going right, dude, that fucking buck stops with you, man. So there's a lot. And I have guys that go, you know what? And I'm pretty open with my guys when shit's going down. It's like, listen, we got 18 grand going out this week just in bills we got to take care of. And these guys stop back and they look. And my main guy even says it where he's like, he goes, I help run this company. He goes, and essentially you're paying, like, I'm paying you to find work. Like, in a sense where it comes off to that money you get. He goes, I never have to worry about work. You do that. I show up, I do the job. And he's comfortable with that. He doesn't want the fucking headaches because at the end of the day, he likes his 40 hours. Say you later. I'm done. Don't have to worry about it. You worry about your own stuff.
I had a guy that worked with me, and he used some of our equipment on the weekends to work kind of thing at times, and I have no issue with that. Like, he gave me some money for gas kind of thing. I should have had something more in place for obviously wear and tear on equipment and all that kind of stuff. But I think it's good that Paul's guys are doing that kind of thing. They're obviously loyal to Paul. I think Paul's had those employees for years, it seems like, at least from what I've seen.
Right.
But you find good people, then why not help them out a little bit with that kind of thing? And I think, like Josh said, it's really none of my business what they do outside of kind of the Monday to Friday or whatever your hours are kind of thing. And if I can help them out, make a couple extra bucks using the equipment that we already have that's just sitting on the weekend anyways, why not, right?
Right. Yeah. I don't see no problem with it. I mean, I know my guy does a couple little jobs that, are friends of his, and that's fine. I mean, I know who they are. I mean, we do other stuff for him, but, I let him go ahead and do it, and That's, a little bit extra cash for him when he needs it. And, it's nothing big for me. And it's not like it's the point. It's the point, like, Paul, he has his employees that come back. They're loyal to him. They're not out there trying to make their own business. They're stuck with you. They want to be with you. They, even Josh, they want to do their 40 hours, and, they want, they don't want no other part of trying to go figure out how to find all these customers. They know where the struggle is of finding the customers, paying the bills, paying all that taxes and all that stuff. They don't want that. A lot of people don't want that, but there is some that do. And you, like you said, you got to offer up some specialities. And if you lose out on, offering up for a class or whatever, it's okay. You're helping the industry grow in a way, because that, hopefully that person will grow and say, okay, I'm to this point. Hey, can you help me out and do this job? Or how can you help me with that? Eventually it grows out to helping everybody out in the green industry. If you can help somebody grow by offering a class and saying, here, come work with me for a year. I'll give you all the, training you need to do. If you stick around, that's good. If not, okay. I'll be glad to see how you do from here on out. That's all you can do, really.
I think, honestly, that's a cool idea too. Like Josh talked about with the university students kind of thing. Like, I might look into that for next year. Like, I feel like I kind of cut a bunch of my clients last year or the year before, but now I'm kind of, the creep, right? Like, oh, there's another guy
Right.
like down the street from you that I could do. And, I don't touch people. I don't talk to, not, I've talked to them obviously, but potential new clients, if they're not right by one of my current clients, I won't, like, I'm not interested, right? Just because I'm
Right.
solo, I'm tiny, I'm part-time, all that kind of stuff. But I'm kind of getting that creep up where, oh, my neighbor wants the service done, and then, oh, their neighbor wants something done. And then, it just happens naturally, right? So I think I might be looking at hiring someone again next year, and a university student. I think, like Josh said, like, if you can throw them $500 or $1,000 kind of thing towards their education, that's a huge perk for the person at the end of August to get, kind of thing. So I think that's a cool idea.
Yeah. And something you could add to that too. And some people don't like doing it with the customers, but you could also send out on your bills, on your invoices, an employee college fund type thing. We're like, hey, we'll match your donation up to $20 or something like that, and you're putting in, and maybe you really have something to offer these kids. And believe it or not, I mean, something my kid's looking into right now is scholarships and stuff. So when you see small stuff like that, where they're coming in, they're learning a trade, they're making, 15, 18 bucks an hour for 20, 30 hours a week. They're not costing you benefits, because kids that age don't want benefits, and they're getting some money to put towards college. Dude, that $500,000 makes a difference, man, to these kids.
Huge.
Right. Oh, yeah. So, okay. So here's a good question for you guys. So do you guys, I know you guys have been in business for a couple of years. Don, you've been in business for what, 5 years, you said? 6 years?
Seven, I think it is now. 7 or 8.
Okay.
7.
And Josh has been around since the Dino age. So, I mean,
I
at
think
least
the
Power
youngest
Ranger
one on
age.
the podcast right now, to be honest with you.
The Power Ranger age.
I turned 40 in June.
So I'm the youngest one here. I'm not 40 yet. I'm not even 30. I'm 38.
You've been in business 30 years. We know that.
The business since I was in diapers.
So, do you ever sit back? I know I've been in business almost 30 years. So, this year I've been sitting back and reflecting on what we have come to and what we've actually done. Do you guys ever sit back and see, like, just sitting there looking at your shop, your shed, or whatever it is, and just sit back and reflect and say, wow, I've come from this point to this point. I mean, I remember the first truck I had was a freaking, I think it was like a 1978 flatbed. It was a Scottsdale. It was a shitty ass truck, but it literally got around, and I had 220 inches that I literally picked up, put it on there every day. And that's how I started out. And to actually see what I have now, what I've gone through, what I've accomplished. I've built a house since I've been in business. I've actually moved like 5-6 times in different places. I've gained probably like 20 different trucks. I have 6 trailers out here that just, get used nonstop. It's amazing to sit back and reflect. You guys ever do that?
I'll go quick. I definitely do. I think for me, it's more what's happened rather than where I am now, just because I have taken a couple steps back at times. Like I had a full-time guy for a couple years going hard. I had, almost 1.5 guys a one winter kind of thing. Whereas now I've kind of taken that step back. So it's hard to see like where I am now is different than where I was even like a year or two ago kind of thing. But I definitely do think about all the things that have happened over the years and how I've grown kind of as an individual as well. And obviously the whole reason we're here, the profits we've made, like it's been awesome to see that kind of go on. And it's funny you mentioned the equipment thing, like all the things in your shed or your garage kind of thing. Like I look in my garage now and my wife would tell you the same thing. Like it's why do you need four of those things? And it's like great question, but I have four now, so we're just going to keep them. Um,
Right, right.
but yeah, it's pretty neat to sit there and think about all you've accomplished and yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah, I mean, I look at my garage right now and I say I need to build a bigger one. I mean, really, mine's totally packed. I have trailers packed. I mean, I'm ready. I'm ready to build another building just to have the extra space. Because when you got to change an oil and you got to take all the equipment out, it kind of sucks. So yeah, I think it's time to build. But Josh, how do you reflect? Have you been reflecting on everything that you've done over the past years?
So that's always been one of the hardest things for me to do, and I don't have an answer as to why. Um,
Okay.
I frequently personally focus on the negative things that I do in business and what I haven't achieved. Where lately in the past 6 months, I've been trying to look at what I actually have done. Like, I don't look what's in front of me and I say, I haven't done this, I haven't done this, I haven't done this. And guys that work for me, friends of mine, my wife are like, look at where you are compared to 10 years ago, compared to 5 years ago. And then, yeah, I have to kind of step back and look like, wow, I did this. Like I'm managing accounts for my business. I never thought I would do the networking, how the network has grown. And yeah, sometimes, and I wouldn't call it like imposter syndrome. Maybe it is, but it's definitely tough to sometimes look at it and admit that, not that I've succeeded, but I'm succeeding in what I'm
Right.
doing. So it is hard because, I don't know when you hit that level of success. That's something I feel like you ask Paul, he's been through it, and
Right.
up there, and he seems like he's been successful in business. So yeah, I mean, I try. I'm trying to get to that point where I can look back and kind of pat myself on the back. It's always been a problem of mine, though.
Well, I'll tell you this: if you've gotten past one day of running a business, 1 week, 1 year, you're successful. And as long as you have that mindset that you are successful because you're running a business, you've been in business over 5 years, both you guys. I would say you're so successful that you've been able to accomplish so much stuff that you're able to keep that business running, and it's a big accomplishment, and that's something definitely to be proud of because a lot of guys can't say that. A lot of guys go out and they run a business for a week or 2 weeks, a year, and they're like, nah, this isn't definitely what I want to do. If
I
you're
think I think
continuously out there every day and you're running it and you're enjoying it, you're making money that you need to make to survive, or even if you think that you're doing a great job at what you're doing, you're exceeding so much expectations, and it's a great achievement for you guys.
I think what
You
Josh said
know,
is so true though. We kind of like what we do, we just do it, right? Like you got to
right,
run your business, you do it. Like there's no really like I hear people tell me all the time, like how are you able to, go work a full-time job and then go out and cut 6 lawns after work kind of thing. And it's like I don't know. Like I know I do it and that's what I do, right? So it's
right,
really when I sit back and think about it, it's when friends or family are saying like that kind of stuff, like how do you do that? And it's like you just do it. Like I don't know, it's we're always our biggest critic, and I think that's kind of where Josh was going with the whole negative thinking kind of thing. And
right.
I have that in my head as well, and struggle a bit with some anxiety with that kind of thing. But um, we're just trying to be better than we were yesterday, I think, and that's the biggest thing for me. And one of my like favorite sayings is kind of progress, not perfection. Like every day, I just try to progress one step better than I was yesterday, kind of thing. And it's not perfect, and 95% of the things I do in my business, a guy like Paul Camaro would be like, "What are you doing? Like, you're an idiot," kind of thing.
Right.
He wouldn't say that because he's a nice guy,
You
but
wouldn't say that.
you know what I mean, though. Like, I'm just trying to be better every day, and I think when your friends and family start to tell you and say like what you're doing is amazing, or those, like, we have a Facebook community page for the area I live in, and when somebody asks in the group and you're the first person and mentioned in the chat when someone needs like lawn care or something like that, and then you get 5 or 6 posts after that saying like, yeah, Don's the best, like you should get Don to do it, he does ours, he did this cleanup yesterday for my parents, like you definitely should hire him. That's when it starts to be to that point where it's like, okay, like I'm doing something right, and that feels pretty good.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Paul says at 50, he finds himself wanting to grow more and also wanting to slow down. I don't see slowing down happening, but the new world's going to force it. I mean, Paul's been in it ever since he was born. I mean, it's a big feat. I mean, he's grown so much. And I mean, yeah, I feel like, yeah, you always want to grow more. But then you look back and you're like, oh, well, I need to slow down because I'm getting up into an age. But I don't see myself stopping either. I don't, unless something forces me to stop, I don't see myself stopping or,
I think
there's always that point where you want to grow. And I've been up that high point where I had a lot of guys, I had a lot of business, and I've scaled down, and now I'm, brought it back up to exactly where I want to be at. And that's, you got to have that happy medium. And I think that's where everybody should be at, is have your happy medium, what you control, what you want to control, what you want as a business to, be where you want to be at. Josh is working hard at it every day. I mean, he's got some union jobs, he's got some non-union jobs. He's working at every angle. I mean, that's what you want to do. Don, you're working it great, doing 15 yards a day after work, man. I used to do that for years, and I tell you what, it's a good feat, and you're doing it, and it's awesome. I'm definitely something that you're doing is great work. So
I think like Paul said though too, it's I remember watching one of his first podcasts, I think, or not podcasts, one of the first lives that we did this year that he did as part of Echo Means Business. And I remember being like kind of in awe about how he kind of took a step back and said, this is what I want to focus on. And he was okay with being that size of a business. And I think that's important, is you need to do what's best for you. And obviously there's a lot of people in the group that are solopreneurs. There's guys like Josh that have, I don't even know, apparently just 2 employees, but pretty sure there's a couple more somewhere.
he's got like hundreds. We know he
Yeah,
does.
like you kind of have to find what works for you and what works for what you're trying to do too, right? Like
Right.
Paul's kind of focusing on that kind of landscape refresh and those kinds of things, and you got to find your niche and find what works for you and go for it. Like I found personally that I really like just cutting lawns. Like I said before, I don't turn down extra business, but if I can be in and out of a house in 20 minutes, a residential lot with my 30-inch mower, and be out of there, it's making good money. You don't have to think. You can just go in, go out, and people are happy with what you're doing. So it's really just finding what works for you. And I think that's something that I kind of get caught up in at times too, like seeing what some of you guys are doing and how you're growing and all that kind of stuff. But I really did take a hard step look at my kind of business last year and the year before and said, you know what, like just bring it back. There's nothing that can't say I can't go out and buy, bigger trucks and bigger trailers next year or something like that, right? But I wanted to make sure what I was doing was right, especially even for that time, right? Like this time next year, I might be trying to grow. Like it's just at this time, I needed to kind of step back and slow down a bit. But that's my thoughts.
Very true. Very true. Well said. Josh, anything to add?
No, that last point that Don made was like 100% agreeable. Where like
Right.
you do have to do what's right for you at the end of the day, what you're comfortable with. Being able to say no to certain jobs and not feeling the guilt because you won't do it. I mean, again, quality of life, right?
Yep. Yeah.
You do this so there's some sort of freedom, right? When you sit down, you don't say, oh, like I'm going to do this and I'm going to work 90 hours a week for the rest of my life. You do this because like you want that quality of life and be able to control your schedule. Look, I took less money this year so I can control my schedule and have more free time. It didn't work out the past 2 months, but it has the earlier in the year,
Right. I think you just got to be happy with what you do. And like you said, you have to have that freedom. We all did this for a freedom reason. We did it for our family or wherever, whatever way we wanted to do it for. And you want to be able to have that freedom at any time, and you got to have it. And, you got to be able to give that also to your employees if you have employees. And that's the way, business should be ran. I see so many businesses that don't get ran that way. And, that's a bad model, I think. So
I think every year you should do what Don suggests and kind of step back and evaluate which way you want to go, how you want to do things. I did that the past couple of years. Like even this year, like the end of last year, I had this growth vision where like I was bringing on 7 more guys this year, and we are going to go heavy. And I'm glad I didn't, because things didn't go the way I projected. This year, I'm kind of stepping back again and looking, all right, which way do I want to go? Do I want to go into this land development, smaller crew, smaller jobs, more of a sub aspect, and then kind of reevaluate next year, which will probably be the way it goes. But yeah, constantly thinking about growth, taking a step back. And like Don said, you can always buy that truck next year. The shit's always going to be there. The work will be there. The equipment will be there. The room to advance will always be there.
Yeah, the equipment will be there. It might, it might get better. I mean, the equipment might get, made better. It might, the prices might change, but it's always there. And that's, you definitely got to look at your business every year. I think we're the same way, Don. We look back at what we need to change. This is our first year that we actually asked our employee, like, it's coming to the end of the season. We got 3 months left. What would you change? What customers would you like to keep? Which ones do you want to get rid of? And then we'll look at it and say, is it profitable? Is it not profitable for us to have that customer? I mean, we've changed a lot of things this year. We've changed to where we're clocking in every job to know exactly if that job's even worth to have anymore, and I think that's where you always have to do that anymore to make sure that your business is running the right way, is to know where you are time-wise and money-wise. So anything else you guys got to add? We're almost running out of time here, guys. I want to thank Paul for being on, Nick being on, Jar Sisters being on, Andrew for being on, for giving some great input. Also, you, Don, definitely thank you for your input today. I know we've seen each other just recently within a week. Josh, I haven't seen you in a year, dude. I don't know when I'm going to see you again.
I was so bummed out that I missed that last event, man. Yeah,
he didn't. He wasn't bummed out. You know that, Don.
No, dude, you, dude. I wanted to see Don and Mark and all those guys so bad, man. And like, I just got caught up on a job, and equipped or GIE, whatever, isn't really my thing. But JC's trying to get me to go down next year, and I think I might, to see who's going to go into it.
You should. I mean, you should definitely see it one time. I mean, it's amazing, and I'll tell you what, it's overwhelming sometimes. It's a lot there to see, and you don't get to see everything. Is Josh afraid to fly? Yeah.
No, I'm not afraid to fly.
Is that Nick asking? Because Nick is.
Yeah. No, I'm good. I'm good with flying. Just my schedule doesn't allow me sometimes. Obviously, like, I speak quality of life, but I have to measure the importance of things. Right. Like this year with I'm starting a new avenue of business, and I had to be there for this job to see it out, and it sucked. I wanted to see it, but again, GIE wasn't really my thing, because I'm the lawn equipment and stuff. It's cool. But I do know they used to have the Hardscape Expo right next door or something. So
yeah,
I just ordered some stuff off Blades Direct, and I was talking to the guy there, and he was saying how they're going to be there. So maybe do a little bit of do a little both next year.
Yeah. See, Paul says you got to go. He'll have a great time with you. See,
so we
you'll have a great time with anybody.
Myself and Jensen to fly down there.
Yeah, that's what you have to do. Get
all in, just
jump in a vehicle and just drive down. There you go. It's a road trip. Jensen will drive you. He's a rock star.
I'm driving with these guys for 11 hours. I'm good.
It'll be good. Jensen will stop at every gas station he can to get you coffee to keep you going.
Jensen want to play the license plate game.
Yeah, that's all he wants to do. Well, thanks to everybody for being on Landscaping to the Point. We had a great conversation today. I think we touched on a lot of great points, and I want to thank everybody for listening. Keep listening to us on Spotify, iHeart, Google Podcasts. Watch us on Landscapes by Acme YouTube page. Thank you all. Thank you, Don, for being on.
Thank you.
Last minute. Thank you, Josh, for being on and going through the tunnel and finally getting out of the tunnel and actually being there. Thanks, Josh. See you guys all later. Have a good week and